Have you ever stopped to think how you're doing working from home? How do you feel about it? As productive? Lots of questions to ask here. Chris Matizczyk with me for ZDNet. And it sounds like, Chris, that Microsoft putting some data together here about how people are feeling. One group may be pretty solid. The others, maybe not so much.
Not so much. I'm wearing black today, Karen, for a very specific reason, because what we have to talk about today isn't really so great. Now, I give credit to Microsoft. They're actually trying to find out how actual human beings are feeling, after a year of pretty much working from home.
Yeah.
So first of all, if you remember, they did some research and discovered maybe things aren't so great. They tried to create this thing called a virtual commute in Teams to make you suffer even more and keep connected online and talk about your feelings. However, this time they've produced something called the Work Trend Index. They did a lot more in-depth research to find out how people are feeling. Now, here's the good news. I would take off black for this section, but I don't think the viewers would appreciate it.
Yes, you're fine.
So 61% of bosses, people who make decisions, people who are in power, say they are, and I quote, thriving. Thriving. They're having a good time. They feel like things are going swimmingly. On the other hand, employees, people who don't take so many decisions but do 98% of the work, they're not thriving. In fact, I can quantify it for you. They are 23% less thriving. Now, you can imagine even some of those think they should say they're thriving because this is a piece of research. Might well try and act as if you have some positive thoughts, but it really, really isn't so good. And 37% said that they're working too hard. I suspect another 37% said, I would like to tell the truth, but maybe I won't, but I'm being worked too hard. And more than 40% said, you know what, I'm looking for another job. Now, to give Microsoft even more credit, because I try and be objective, in a subjective kind of way, they realize the problem. Microsoft's senior people are saying, we have to do a lot more to help people. But the question is what? Because how do you get people that, make people's voices heard, allow everyone to have their voice? And try that on a Zoom call. Did I say that? On a Microsoft Teams call. How do you do that? How do you persuade bosses to have better contact, to have better understanding of what their people are feeling and how they're actually doing? Because remember, a lot of employees might live in small apartments. They might be doing work 8 hours a day out of their bedrooms. They've been locked down for a long time, except of course in Florida, where there's never been a lockdown ever, as far as I'm aware. And this is entirely painful for people. And of course, these are the people who, as I mentioned before, are actually doing the work.
Yeah. And there's so many things at home. I mean, I'm just sitting here trying to work with you, and I have already 2 missed calls from kids that are either yelling up the stairs or calling me, trying to track me down. I think after a while, those kinds of things that are going on at home are weighing on people, making this work from home thing even harder for some. But you hear, Chris, a lot of people saying, well, I have such Zoom fatigue, or I don't, and all of these things. I mean, if all of that's adding up, what do companies do? How do they address it? Because there's not much more they can do, I think, to make it better. I don't know.
Wait a minute, your kids call you, Karen? They call you
from the downstairs
while we're doing this show? That's incredible. You see, they're working from home. They're trying to make their mom work for them.
They need food, Chris. That's what they're doing.
What can be done is this. Microsoft, for example, says you should give your teams more of a break. You should give your employees more time off and that kind of stuff. There is one slight problem. America has a work culture. It doesn't have a life culture. There's something about this constant need to be excited about your work, to be achieving more, to be doing more, to be saying that you're doing more, that doesn't fit well with saying, no, please, go take a break. Disappear for 2 weeks. What happens even when you go on vacation? You get calls because people think they can, because technology, which has its positive sides, has enabled companies to call employees who are on their vacation, not even think that they're doing something that is psychologically damaging, because it is. When was the last time you had a real vacation where you didn't think about work, you didn't get contacted by work, you didn't feel guilty about what might be happening at work? It's a cultural problem. And Microsoft, for all its goodness, can say, well, the future is hybrid, but companies are going to have to do a hell of a lot of work to decide precisely what kind of companies they want to be. And of course, quarterly earnings don't tend to encourage the idea of taking a break, because we have to, tell the analysts we're making even more money.
Right.
And if we're not making even more money, my gosh, America's going to collapse. What's clear is that a lot of people are burning out and are collapsing. And some of them, particularly during work from home, have nowhere to turn to. Some are turning to apps. Some are desperately turning to online forums. This is a truly serious situation that the consequences of which may not be seen instantly, but in 6 months, in 9 months, in 12 months, I wonder.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing about, well, the pandemic in general, right? All of our habits and things we're doing now, how is all of this going to come back to bite us later? But no doubt, when people are working from home and your work is right there with you all the time, even when you tune out or try to be done for the day, it's always there. I think it makes it easy for people to say, I'm going to log back on, do a couple quick emails at 9 o'clock at night, and they don't ever really shut it down. And that's not
absolutely. One piece of research Microsoft did show that the share of IMs increased by 52% between 6 p.m. and midnight. Midnight, Karen, midnight. I mean, it's wrong. And technology, lovely though it is, we all respect it. Occasionally, we even adore it. It hasn't solved the problem yet, has it?
No.
We're all thrust into this. Technology, bless it, does not have all the answers.
That's right. Has a dark side for sure, unfortunately, Chris. All right. Well, much more, of course, on Microsoft's information, the data they've collected there in your article on ZDNet. We hope all of you will check it out soon. Chris, thanks for being with me as always.
Thank you, Karen. I'm sorry I had to wear black.
That's all right. Next time I'll look for you to be in a bright color. Bye, everybody.